welcome to another episode of Accessibility. It's a show on YouTube where I talk about the video game industry, accessibility, and representation. Basically, how can we help more people to play games, and more people to see themselves in the games they play? If you've ever played an online multiplayer video game, particularly one that involves cooperation as a group, you've likely encountered voice chat. Basically, a lot of video games expect that if you're going to communicate with other players on your team, you need to say words out loud and they will say words back to you, and that's the way you communicate. There are obviously video games that go out of their way to minimise the amount that this is required. Games like Apex Legends do a really good job of offering ways of communicating information to your teammates that don't involve spoken language, but for the vast majority of video games, you need to be able to speak spoken language and hear it spoken to you in order to communicate with other players online. However, toward the end of last week, we got some really exciting news from Microsoft that they're currently trialling, for Xbox, some updates which should make voice chat more accessible to disabled players. So today, on Accessibility, we're going to be talking about the brand new voice chat transcription and voice synthesis settings coming soon to Xbox consoles. We're going to talk about exactly what settings are coming and what makes them different from existing settings. We're going to talk about some of the groups of disabled gamers that these help, and we're going to talk about some of the potential hurdles that Microsoft needs to make sure they avoid in order to make these settings as useful as possible. Let's start off this week's video by talking about some of the specifics of Microsoft's new accessibility features, which are available to Xbox Insider users right now, and will likely roll out more widely in the coming weeks. Both of these are based on existing features, but being expanded in scope and utility. First up is speech-to-text transcription. An expansion of an existing feature. With this new setting active, you can set your Xbox so that all words spoken by players you are talking with, whether they're in the same game as you or in a friend voice chat party, will be converted into on-screen text for you to read. The new voice chat transcription overlay works in and out of games, is adjustable, and includes important information such as speaker tags, so you know who in voice chat said what. Basically, players will be able to follow voice chat conversations by reading on-screen text, without having to be able to hear it in real time. Where previous implementations on Xbox only worked inside games, this now functions as its own system-wide overlay. On the other hand, players who enable text-to-speech synthesis can type out party chat text and have it read out to other players using a synthetic voice. There are multiple voice choices per language, which should help players to find a voice that they're happy to have represent them to others. By allowing players who type text to convert it into synthetic speech, you avoid the risk of a player who is used to spoken language chat not knowing that there's on-screen text, and not thinking to look for and read it, by putting these messages exactly where the player expects to encounter them. These settings work in all party chat settings and feature a lot more functionality than simply providing a simple transcript, making them considerably more useful to the end user. These settings work in more places and offer more settings to customize. Those are the settings now available to Xbox Insider users, and will be available to everyone else who has an Xbox pretty soon. I think it's undeniable that these settings are going to be really helpful for a lot of disabled players, but I think they're going to be helpful for more groups than many people think about, so for the rest of this video, we're going to talk about a lot of groups that this is going to be potentially useful for, some of which you may not have thought of, and we're going to talk about some of the potential issues that we need to see Microsoft address with this to make it as useful as possible. Let's start off with the most obvious group of disabled gamers who are helped by the addition of speech-to-text and text-to-speech. Deaf gamers and hard-of-hearing gamers. The applications for these groups of gamers are pretty clear. If you can't hear what your fellow voice chat players are saying, you can now read their messages instead. If you do not communicate using spoken language, you can type your messages and they will reach your hearing teammates without difficulty. However, there are also other groups of gamers these settings help, from those with other disabilities to those who simply have limitations in their home gaming setups. Some autistic gamers, as well as other neurodiverse players, may not use spoken language some or all of the time. That doesn't mean a given player cannot understand spoken language, they may just have periods of time where they do not use it. I myself am autistic and sometimes have non-verbal or low-verbal spells of time, where, due to usually social exhaustion, I find it really hard to talk out loud. For gamers like myself, having the option to type chat messages and have them read out to other players offers me a chance to still be part of the conversation, even when I may not feel up to speaking out loud. Additionally, these settings offer additional support to autistic players who may struggle to process information when multiple sources of noise are overlapping, such as when squad members are talking over each other mid-game. By providing a transcript with speaker names attached, it makes it easier for players like myself to pick out individual sentences from the clutter of all the other sounds happening in-game. Transcripts can be a useful aid alongside spoken words. They don't exclusively exist as a replacement for them. Additionally, these settings offer support for players who might have to game with the sound turned off when playing at night, or who may not be able to talk out loud at night without disturbing those who they share a home with. If you're in a situation where you can't listen to or talk to your teammates easily, these settings could be of some help. There are some remaining questions to be answered about these new settings, particularly how they interact with things like crossplay. If I'm playing a cross-platform multiplayer game such as Fortnite with people who have the game on PlayStation 5, will their chat show up in my transcript? Will their gamer tags show up as speaker tags? If I use synthetic voice modulation, if I'm using text-to-speech, will they hear my synthesized voice chat? These are all questions that there's time to answer, and I'm curious about the answers for, but even if these only work as Xbox settings, it's still a nice step forward to see. I would love to see Sony and Nintendo follow suit on this, because anything that allows more people to not only play video games together, but communicate with people and have a shared experience playing video games is a benefit to our industry. This is really something that all of the console manufacturers should be making headway on.